Very disappointed. I'm waiting for a couple of years. I worked with a place called Breaking Ground. Last month they came. We got a place for you. They picked me up, and they put me in a place with a roommate who was just a horror show. There's bottles of urine around the floor and in the room, and I couldn't stay. I just walked away after 2 years of all that work for these guys.
It can happen to anyone. Like being on the streets, I've met a lot of people that have come up to me and they've been like, "I have been exactly where you've been. It'll get better." And like people in suits, you know, like you would never expect them to say that they've been homeless. You know, just not to judge.
About 8 years ago, my wife got very sick, and she ended up being bedridden for 2 years. And then 6 years ago, actually January 27th will be 6 years, she passed. And she died on a Friday morning. And by Saturday, by Saturday evening, I was evicted. They got me out of the house that fast. As soon as she died, I was gone. So I was homeless since then.
I just don't feel safe. There's so many people in such a close quarters. So many of them have nothing to lose, and they get there, and then there's no help after that. So they just kind of get stuck. And, you know, people start settling for a different lifestyle, and they feel like they have nowhere to go.
You know, I'm different. I'm ready to go back to work. You know, I don't need rehab. I don't need any of that stuff. I just need 2 weeks stability. I can go back to work. I don't even need help getting work. I can find work. I just need a place to shower and keep my stuff.
New York was once called the heart of America, a place where the lights of Times Square shine day and night, where the Statue of Liberty proudly holds her torch, lighting the way for those chasing the American dream. But just take a turn off the main streets, behind the polished skyline of Hudson Yards or West 39th Street, and you'll find a different New York. A dark one, a broken one, a place that looks more like a nightmare than a dream. Beneath this city's glamorous image lies a haunting reality no one wants to talk about. Hidden streets, dark alleyways, corners where the dream is long gone and only despair remains. Today, we're pulling back the curtain. We're stepping into those shadows, where the American dream is crumbling right in the very city that once gave it life. This isn't just a warning. It's a wake-up call, a look at what's really happening in one of the most powerful cities in the world, through the eyes of the people who live it, lose it, and fight to survive it. Let's step into the darker side of New York, the side tourists never see. The Big Apple, the symbol of hope and success. But it's not as bright as people think anymore. In fact, it's never been this scary. Right in the middle of the financial and cultural capital of the world, hundreds of thousands are sleeping on benches, huddled in subway tunnels, or laying on cardboard under bridges. And yes, even in Times Square, the Coalition for the Homeless reports that over 350,000 people in New York have no stable place to live. That's not just a number. It's a human crisis. Each night, around 132,000 people squeeze into shelters, while thousands more are left to fight for a patch of pavement or a piece of park bench. And it's getting worse, fast. This isn't a slow burn. It's a flood. And in that rising tide, more and more seniors are being swept away. These aren't just random people. Many once worked hard, paid their taxes, and built this city's success. Now, they have nowhere to go. No roof. No safety. Just the cold streets of the place they used to call home. Walk the streets from Brooklyn to Manhattan, and you'll see it with your own eyes. Tents like weeds. Trash pile high. Sleeping bags tucked between stairwells. The smell in the air. It's something no one should ever have to live with. But somehow, it's becoming normal. And what's worse, people act like these lives don't matter. Like this part of the city should be erased. Pushed out of sight. But the crisis isn't limited to rundown areas. Even landmarks like Central Park and Broadway, once glowing signs of America's power, are fading into chaos. The same places once shown live on TV are now scenes of human suffering. The contrast is shocking. How can a city with a GDP the size of a country let hundreds of thousands sleep outside? How can a place where dreams began be the place where they die? What happened to the promise of New York? If there's a center to all of this, it's Manhattan, the heart of America's economy, home to Wall Street, Central Park, Broadway, the Empire State Building, Hudson Yards, icons known across the globe. But just steps away from Times Square, the truth hits hard. Sidewalks packed with people lying down. Subway tunnels turned into shelters. Corners becoming battlegrounds just to sleep. And this is no exaggeration. According to several reports, Manhattan now has the highest number of homeless people in all of New York City. Walk just 10 meters, and you'll probably see someone trying to survive on the pavement. On West 39th Street, between 9th and 10th Avenues, tents stretch across the sidewalks. Old parking lots, now full of people. The alleys of Hell's Kitchen, filled with makeshift beds. Penn Station, it's become a home for those who have none. When night falls, Manhattan changes. The lights can't reach the shadows. The city turns into something out of a movie, a twisted, broken version of what it once was. It's more like the road than the New York we used to know. In those dark alleys, something is building. A pressure, a quiet storm of poverty and fear, ticking like a time bomb. Even the police are afraid. One officer confessed, "We have stopped patrolling that street regularly." That says it all. If law enforcement won't go there, what hope is left? So why are there no-go zones in the heart of one of the richest places on earth? How'd it come to this? The answer? It's not simple. Housing help, jobs, counseling, it all costs money, time, and commitment. Solving it takes more than good intentions. It takes real change. Still, New York is trying. Bit by bit, district by district, small steps to stop the bleeding. But if even Manhattan can't keep its people safe and sheltered, what does that say about the system? Now let's talk about the cost of living. If you lived in New York just a few years ago, the prices today will shock you. A basic breakfast, nearly $20. A dozen eggs, up to $9. A single loaf of bread can cost more than what many earn per hour. According to the latest reports from Numbo and Bloomberg in 2024, New York has now passed San Francisco, Los Angeles, and even Washington, D.C. It's officially the most expensive city in the country. Essential food prices have jumped by 75 to 90% in just a few years. But the income for retirees and seniors, it's only gone up by less than 25%. The gap is growing, and fast. So now, the people who built this city, the elders who gave their best years, are being priced out, abandoned, forgotten, left to figure out on the streets of the city they once believed in. For many elderly New Yorkers, life is no longer about living. It's about surviving. Just food, medicine, and basic transportation can cost anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500 a month. And that doesn't even include rent. Imagine paying all that just to exist. Living in New York today feels like you're being punished simply for getting old. But the cost of food and medicine, that's only part of the nightmare. The real monster? Housing. Right now, the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Manhattan has passed $4,000 a month. That's not luxury. That's a crisis. By federal guidelines, people should spend no more than 30% of their income on housing. But in New York, over 40% of residents spend half or more of their income just to keep a roof over their heads. And it gets worse. According to the National Low-Income Housing Coalition, New York City has only 36 affordable apartments for every 100 low-income families. That means more than 70 families out of every 100 are left behind. No options, no help, no homes. So how is someone supposed to live on a $1,700 pension? How do you survive in a city where every price is exploding, but your income stands still? But this isn't just a problem for the elderly anymore. Thousands of children are also growing up on the streets of New York. Yes, children. Many of them never see a classroom. They never sit in a desk or hold a pencil. Instead, they learn to beg for food outside charity kitchens. Their first lessons in life are about survival, not spelling. Their childhoods are made of cold park benches, flickering street lights, and strangers who look away. And now we're facing a hard truth. Homelessness is no longer just a poor person's problem. It's creeping into the lives of working families, into people who once considered themselves middle class. When rent skyrockets and wages stay frozen, you don't need to lose everything to become homeless. Just one surprise bill, one accident, one lost job. That's all it takes. The numbers don't lie. They betray the very people who helped build this country. What more needs to happen before we call this what it truly is? A full-blown crisis. New York was once the beating heart of the American dream, a city that promised opportunity to anyone bold enough to chase it. But now, that dream is cracking under its own weight. And it's not just Americans chasing it anymore. In today's chaotic world, people from everywhere are flooding in, desperate for a new beginning. They come from Venezuela, Haiti, Canada, the Middle East, even from other U.S. states like Texas, Florida, and California. They all come to New York, hoping to start over. But sometimes, that dream crashes into a wall of harsh reality. The city that once welcomed the world with open arms is now barely holding itself together. In just the last 2 years, over 175,000 immigrants and refugees have arrived in New York City. And the system? It's overwhelmed, overloaded, on the edge of collapse. What was once a place of refuge has now become a lottery, where people draw chances to see who gets a tent to sleep in tonight and who must curl up on the cold, wet ground. The city is trying. It spent over $2 billion in under a year on food, shelter, and emergency care. But the problem is no longer just about money. It's about a city that's running out of strength. And for the immigrants themselves, New York doesn't feel like the promised land. They arrive without documents, without jobs, without benefits, and very quickly, without hope. Some are placed in temporary hotels, others in tents on sidewalks. Many are stuffed into already overcrowded shelters. Within weeks, they're back on the streets, invisible, forgotten. And that's when the real divide begins. Longtime residents grow bitter. They feel like immigrants are being prioritized, that they're losing what little help they had to newcomers. Immigrants, in turn, feel unwanted, rejected by the very city that once welcomed the world. And the pressure keeps building. More people, fewer homes, less help. And when the squeeze begins, the weakest are the first to fall. So now we ask, if New York still represents the heart of America, what does this moment say about our country? Are we still a land of opportunity? Or has the dream officially died? There was a time when being middle class meant stability. You worked hard. You paid your taxes. You raised your family. You were safe. But that promise is disappearing. In today's New York, even with a college degree, even with a full-time job, you're not safe. You could still be one missed paycheck away from disaster. Rents are now so high, it takes $8,000 to $10,000 a month after taxes to support a family of 4 in this city. That's not a luxury lifestyle. That's just basic survival. And for most people, that number is impossible. One medical emergency, one cut in hours, one unexpected layoff, and everything falls apart. Fast. A recent study by Pew Research Center found that America's middle class has shrunk by 11% over the last 2 decades. But in New York, it's disappearing even faster. New York used to be the land of opportunity, but now it's the land of survival. And the price to survive here is soul-crushing. For many elderly people, the cost of just staying alive, food, medicine, transport, can reach $1,500 a month. That doesn't even include rent. And rent? In Manhattan, a one-bedroom now costs over $4,000 a month. Even the federal government says we should only spend 30% of our income on housing. But in New York, over 40% of people are spending more than half just to keep a roof over their heads. There's no cushion, no breathing room, no margin for error. So when one thing goes wrong, a medical bill, job cut, rent hike, even the middle class falls. It's not just the poor. It's people with jobs, college degrees, and children. People who used to be the backbone of this city. Now they sleep in their cars, share tiny rooms with relatives. Or worse, they don't sleep at all. And yet, there's nowhere left for them to go. Not poor enough to get help. Not rich enough to survive. This city, once called the City of Dreams, has become a place where only the wealthy can afford to dream. The middle class used to be a shield, a buffer between poverty and power. Now that shield is cracking. Working 40 hours a week used to mean stability. Now it just means you're one step away from the street. The average family in New York needs $10,000 a month after taxes just to survive. That's not luxury. That's just basic life. But most don't even come close. Let's talk about the real people behind the numbers. Lydia, 78 years old. She's been homeless for over 40 years. She once had a rent-controlled apartment, but lost it when her name wasn't on the lease. Since then, she's been invisible. Her benefits application, ignored. Her voice, unheard. Her dream, gone. No matter where I live, I don't fit, she says. This world has no more room for me. Lisa, just a child. She should be in school, laughing, dreaming. Instead, she's learning how to survive. She sleeps outside churches. She eats what strangers offer. And when asked what she wants, I wish I had a home. I wish people were kind. And I wish there was no more war. She still believes in kindness. But why must a child know so much pain before she can even spell? Richard had a job, a family. Then his wife got sick. They lost everything. He tried to get into a shelter, but it was so filthy, he couldn't stay. Now he just wants 2 weeks of stability, a shower, a locker, a safe place to sleep. I'm not lazy, he says. I'm just stuck, and nobody helps you up. But the worst part isn't the cold. It's the way people look at him. Like he doesn't matter. Like he doesn't exist. These people, Lydia, Lisa, Richard, they're no longer rare cases. They are the new reality. This isn't just about the homeless. It's about anyone who could lose it all in just a week. This is not a problem. This is a collapse. Shelters are full. Food lines are long. Even the working poor are running out of options. And the American dream? For millions, it's already dead. More than 175,000 immigrants have come in New York in the past 2 years. The system is overwhelmed. The city has spent over $2 billion trying to help. But now, shelters are turning into tents. Hotel rooms have turned into waiting rooms for pain. And when help runs dry, what's left? Anger, division. Native-born residents think immigrants are cutting the line. Immigrants feel hated, unwanted, abandoned. No one wins. You walk past them every day. They sit near subway entrances. They sleep behind dumpsters. They huddle under bridges. But they're not gone. They're just unseen. They are the forgotten faces of New York. They built this city. They cleaned its offices, taught its children, served its food. And now, they can't afford to live in it. A city isn't great because of its skyline. It's great because of its people. But when the elderly are starving, when children are sleeping on benches, when working families are crushed by rent, is that still a great city? We're not here to blame. We're here to ask the hard questions. Where is the conscience of the richest city in America? Who decides who gets a dream? And how much longer can we look away? What do you think about the homeless crisis in New York? Let us know in the comments. If this video moved you, please like, share, and subscribe. Let's keep the conversation going, because ignoring it won't make it disappear. Thank you for watching.